Hello and welcome, guys. Today we are back with the next league. This is going to be match 1 with what I am calling Fierce Amulet. That's right. We are now playing the card that I mentioned last time in my third TOS video. We're playing 3 copies of Fierce Empath. So obviously this is a nice card to have access to in order to find your Primeval Titans. But in order to go along with the mainboard copies of Fierce Empath, we also have a few bullets that we can get from the sideboard, namely Elder Scale Worm and Carnage Tyrant. So the Worm is going to be a 7 mana 7/7 with Trample, but more importantly, any damage that would reduce our life total to less than 7 reduces it to 7 instead, and if we were below 7 when we cast it, we go back up to 7. So obviously this is going to be the kind of bomb that you would want to see against like Burn or against Red Prowess, quite possibly against humans as well, maybe, although it's a little weak to Reflector Mage. Other than that, though, this guy is going to come into play and put a complete damper on all attacks. I'm not necessarily expecting to attack with Elder Scale Worm that particularly frequently, because in the matchups where Elder Scale Worm comes into play, it might be important to keep it in play and not give our opponent the chance to block it, but we'll see. I think that's going to be very contextual. That'll be an interesting dynamic to look for throughout the games. But anyways, the second card that I'm playing to go along with Fierce Empath is Carnage Tyrant, one that, again, that I've talked about before. So it's a 6 mana 7/6 trample hexproof, and it can't be countered. So on the flip side of the spectrum, so against aggro, we're going to get Elder Scale Worm, right? Against control, the card that we can toolbox for with Fierce Empath is Carnage Tyrant, because it allows us to punch through counter magic without a Cavern of Souls. They can't be pathed. They have to Supreme Verdict it in order to get rid of it. And there's some control decks that don't even have access to sweepers like Supreme Verdict, depending on the colors they're playing and their particular deck build. So we'll see how this goes. But I could also see Carnage Tyrant coming in against black-green decks like Jund. Just because it's a big old body, can't be usually outclasses Tarmogoyf is what I was meaning to say. Is that usually you'll be able to use this to brick wall or even straight up attack through some Tarmogoyfs. It's completely uninteractable, and we can protect it against a Liliana of the Veil just by keeping like an Arboreal Grazer or something along those lines in play. And in order to make room for some of these changes in the sideboard, you may notice I've completely cut all of the counter magic. We used to have a couple Mystical Disputes and like a Pact Negation in the sideboard, but I'm choosing not to go with that for today. My only reason being, oftentimes the card that I would want to counter with a Mystical Dispute is specifically and only Urza. I don't like trying to use Mystical Dispute as an answer to Ashiok, because usually you can't anticipate the Ashiok coming, and one of the best ways to play around an Ashiok is to go ahead and get creatures on the board, get a clock in play, and that way you can sort of preempt Ashiok. And the matchups where Ashiok can be a factor, usually you're going to want to play out your cards instead of be holding up counter magic. So I decided to disinclude Mystical Dispute for that reason. And we also see a second copy of Tireless Tracker coming into the sideboard here. This is a card I've actually even liked in the main deck. It's just a very strong, very powerful card. One of the best intermediary threats you can ask for. Against those grindy strategies, you want trackers. Against the more aggressive strategies, you want Baloths, generally. Right? But Tracker is just a card that I've been quite impressed with. So, and I've seen some other lists playing around with playing 2 Tireless Trackers. So I'm giving that a shot as well. We have the 1 explosives in the main board still, just because I like having the main board out against something like humans is the main consideration, but even having it against like Red Prowess can be very impactful as well. So yeah, I will say I hate to cut the 4th Explorer. We went down on an Ancient Stirrings and an Explorer and the 3rd Tolari West from the previous list in order to add these 3 Fierce Empaths, and while I don't really miss the Stirrings or the Tolari West that particularly much, I loathe to cut an Explorer. I could actually maybe see moving the 2nd Explosives back into the sideboard, cutting something, and playing the 4th Explorer over that, but my thinking is that Explorer is generally used in order to cantrip towards a Titan if we don't have one, while still progressing our game plan, while now that we have access to 3 Fierce Empaths, and Tolari West and Summoners Packs and Primeval Titan, we're not going to be on any kind of shortage of threats. So perhaps the draw value of Explorer is not quite as high as it once was in previous lists. So that's the reasoning for that change. And yeah, I think I've said everything that I wanted to say about the list. Everything else is kind of my normal, so yeah, let's just jump into the games and see how it goes. Alright, let's see if we can get anybody with Elder Scale Worm. That is one of my goals for this set of 5 matches here that we call a league, is to get an Elder Scale Worm into play and use it to generate either a concession from my opponent or just to straight up win with it. That would be pretty cool. Like, living the dream would be to get an Elder Scale Worm into play and then use Sunhome to attack through their blockers with it for lethal damage. That would be pretty cool. Oh no! Opponent! They were scared of the Elder Scale Worm, so we'll have to wait for the next one. But hey, now we have increased matchmaking priority. That's pretty fancy, don't you think? Alright. Maybe we can get an opponent who wants to join the match this time. And it looks like they do. It will be their downfall. Hopefully. Good old Buster Brown over here. Buster Brown 52. This hand looks pretty good to me. It's definitely a keep. We have all the acceleration we can want. One of our 3 explorers, which I'm happy about. Uh-oh. Is this elementals? Good old elemental tribal. Flamekin Harbinger. Yep. Seems like it. Well, our mainboard engineer explosives should come in handy, I would think. Not gonna love to see a lightning skelemental. That's probably gonna be a little bit problematic for us, but I'm already starting to consider whether or not it's worth it to bring in something like Elder Scale Worm in this matchup, because I know that if we try to stall up the board with Elder Scale Worm and they just continue to draw a billion cards with Risen Reef, they'll likely be able to find an answer for the worm and swing in through for lethal. So I don't know if that's going to be worth it, although it might be able to buy us time to get Valakut and Dryad going, perhaps. I don't know. Adding mana for elementals. Reasonable. So we definitely want to get this Dryad into play, I think. So I'll lead on their Growth Chamber, and we'll see what we do after that. If we get 2 of these Arboreal Grazers into play, then we can actually prevent us from taking any damage from a Lightning Skelemental, so that might be a pretty good line. Could cycle this Explorer now, or use it to try to get actually ahead on land drops. So if I play the Growth Chamber, a Grazer, and then get 2 more mana from it, I can use a blue and a green and leave a blue floating to explore, play Bojuka Bog as a green source, perhaps, and keep the Growth Chamber in hand for a potential Titan turn. Instead, I think I'm going to go ahead and use the Bojuka Bog now, and just use it to float a green mana, using the Dryad ability. I don't really see a reason to float the extra blue here, in all honesty. I guess we could get punished if we draw a Tolari West, but since we already have a Summoner's Pact, I guess we could Tolari West for maybe an Engineered Explosives, but we're looking a little ways away from utilizing Engineered Explosives at the moment, so just get our Grazer buddies into play. I'm going to go ahead and yield the Amulet triggers for the time being as well. I guess before anything else, before playing another Grazer, I'm just going to go ahead and explore. Another Dryad is pretty interesting, and we can actually get that into play as well, using the Arboreal Grazer we still have, so we're doing things. This is probably the most game actions I've taken in one turn, so there's that. I think they would have to have something crazy like double Lightning Skelemental in order for us not to have a Titan this upcoming turn. Well, we're playing Storm over here. That was a pretty ridiculous turn there. I know we have a bounce land, so they might make their plays hoping that we don't have a Titan, which would be best case scenario. I'm going to search for an elemental. I never actually checked to see what they put on top the other time. Did they search for a second Flamekin Harbinger? I don't know, that's weird. Cool. We're yielding through this. Spite Bellows. Enters the battlefield, deals 6 damage to target creatures. So that is intended to kill our Primeval Titan, I suppose, after it resolves. I don't know if that's going to be particularly good for them. Or maybe they're killing a Dryad now? I don't know. They need to have an answer for the second Dryad as well. It looks like they might. Yeah. We'll go ahead and take our free block here. Use the battlefield. Yeah, so we're not going to be able to keep our Dryads in play here, unfortunately. Does it have trample? I don't know if I care about the 6 damage here, though. I'm going to take it, just because that lets us play around a Skelemental a little better. You know what I just realized? I could have blocked their Awakener with the Dryad. I don't know why I did not do that. We still have a Titan this upcoming turn anyways, but that was definitely a huge mistake. I definitely should have blocked this guy. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just thinking, oh, well, our Dryad's going to be dead, so just ignore that it exists. Voice of Resurgence is fine. Now, there's the Skelemental. Which is not a problem, because we did play around that. But now I'm not really sure what our Titan's gonna get here. We probably need to copy Bajuka Bog. I don't know, actually, what we can even do with this Titan now. Probably gonna need to, after... Oh, they killed their Voice Resurgence. That's interesting. So after it attacks, because that's pretty obvious, we need to get probably the life gain land and a copy of Bajuka Bog so they can't get back their Spite Bellows. We are going to need this Arboreal Grazer as well. So I guess it's fine to go ahead and play out the Arboreal Grazer now. I don't think we're losing out on anything by playing it beforehand. We could try to go for a Field of the Deadline, but I don't think we can get enough lands in play, so I'm going to go ahead and just get the Grazer out now. Yeah, we'll just do this. The attacking is free here since we get the Vigilance, so there's no reason not to attack. Pick up the Stronghold, I guess. We also need to make sure we don't die to our pack trigger, but I don't think that'll be a problem. So here, for sure, we need to copy Bajuka Bog, and I guess we get Radiant Fountain. So this is going to be our Bajuka Bog. I believe Radiant Fountain is the best that we can do here, so... yes. I almost clicked no, I don't want to copy anything. That would have been a disaster. Did not need to open that up. Okay, so there's that. I guess we just pass it back. I think we probably will need to be looking for an engineered explosives on 2 to get rid of this awakener here. Skelemental. That's pretty problematic. So now we are forced to trade our Titan, if I'm not mistaken. Block here. And we take 4, so we need to top deck something here. I'm not sure what we could realistically top deck, but we'll see how it goes. The Suva, not really doing it for me, I think. Yeah, we're just dead. Alright, going to the next game. So, I think we are going to want Baloths, perhaps? I'm not sure, though. I don't really know how to play against this deck very much, to be honest. Reclamation Sage seems good. Dismembers could be relevant against Lightning Skelementals, so I think that makes it probably worth it. The Trackers, I'm not really sure. They block their little smaller creatures a little better, which is nice. Definitely want Explosives. And we may want Elder Scale Worm, I'm not entirely certain. I think that we probably do, just as a way to slow them down. Speaking of slowing them down, we don't need to be slowing ourselves down, so we'll cut the Explorers. Don't need Summoners Packs, because those are going to tap us out anyways. Amulet seems pretty good here. Although, it does get hit by our own Engineered Explosives on 1, which I don't love. And I could see putting Explosives on 1 to get rid of their Aether Vials. But we also have Rex Sage for that. We could bring in the Force of Vigor for Vial as well, but I think that's a little too narrow. Let's see, what else? I think that Stirrings is going to be a little slow, perhaps. What else? We can probably trim 1 Empath, just because 1 Titan is going to be enough to do the job. That or 1 Elder Scale Worm, perhaps. I don't know how I feel about this Azusa. I feel like it might be important, just because they're not going to be able to kill it efficiently. You can trim a land, maybe a bounce land, in case they have something like Damping Sphere. I gotta trim 1 more. I don't really like trimming Amulet, though. There's nothing else I really want to trim here, though. Maybe we just want 1 Obstinate Baloth. Although they're pretty good against the Skelementals, so maybe not. Rough. I guess we're trimming the Azusa. And we'll send this in. We would like to play first. This hand, I don't love. It's missing a bounce land for sure. I don't love this hand either, to be honest. Got an early Titan with the Garandrig, perhaps, and it's got some interaction, but I don't know if that's going to be good enough. It doesn't have any acceleration, it doesn't have an Amulet, and it doesn't have a Titan. But it has Tracker to help dig for Titan. I wouldn't rely on Tracker for any type of acceleration, but maybe this member will be good enough. It also depends on if they have a draw with Vile or not, because this might be just fast enough to compete with a non-Vile draw. And this one's really rough. I think I'm going to... I'll keep it. Could be wrong, and we'll bottom this Vesuva. And we'll lead on Garenbrig Go, I suppose. And they do have a Vile. I guess we'll play a Bog. It doesn't feel great to have to put the Bog into play before they have anything relevant in their graveyard for the Awakener, but it's probably better to play around a potential Damping Sphere. So, and they also could have Fulminator Mage. I believe that Fulminator Mage is an elemental as well, so. Voice of Resurgence? Yep. Okay, Dryad's not a bad one at all. Let's go ahead and get him into play. And we'll Growth Chamber, I suppose, and pick up the... I mean, if we pick up Forest, we potentially have a Titan this upcoming turn. Although, with 2 land drops, we can play Sanctuary, pick up Forest, and play Forest in order to cast our Titan next turn if we have to, assuming we can keep the Dryad in play. So I'm going to pick up the Bog. Elemental. Yep. No? Maybe. We'll see. Elemental is probably their best card against us. Sadly, no matter what 3-drop we played this turn, we weren't going to be able to hold up Dismember. I don't know if I want to give them the extra token anyways, but... Yep, it is Skelemental. We'll probably pitch this Dismember... Oof, I guess Sanctuary? We're going to regret pitching Sanctuary if we happen to top deck exactly Summoner's Pact or Primeval Titan. But we need this Bog to get rid of this Skelemental permanently, most likely. You can definitely pitch Dismember. I don't love to do it, but I think it just has to be Sanctuary. Although Sanctuary combined with the Tracker represents a lot of card draw. I don't know. It's rough. I'm going to pitch the Sanctuary, I think. Well, that's one that we can play this turn if we want to. I think it's going to be better to get Tracker into play, though. So, I'm going to go with that line. This way we get a little extra value out of our Bog. And now, we have the option of swinging in with Dryad. I think maybe we do not want to do that. I was going to say, I think maybe we do, but the problem is, right now, this Dryad is threatening to block the voice, and I think taking 2 is going to be more detrimental than it is beneficial for us to attack for 2, so... We're just trying to play the surviving game here. Although now that we have a Baloth here, if they happen to have another Skelemental, they're going to get a little nasty surprise. And they do have the Awakener, so... Yep. I think it's a good thing that we kept the Bog. Shriek Maw. Okay. I have no clue which one of these things they hit. Probably Dryad, but it's close. Oh, they hit the tracker. Okay. Oh, do they have like a Flicker Wisp or something here? Yep. Oh, that's pretty nasty. Well, we're losing all of our creatures here. We still have the ability to cast the Primeval Titan if we draw it. Oh, no, it'll come back on instep. So we get the chance to block here. Do I want to give them a larger creature? I think I'd rather just take 2, actually. Alright, Radiant Fountain. It's an interesting one. There's no way we can crack a clue and play Baloth this turn. I mean, I guess we could clue... Nah. I think it's just going to be Jam Baloth. Oh, wait. I'm an idiot. Of course we can crack a clue. We have 2 mana. So, yeah, we'll pass it back and clue, I guess, on their instep. That way they can't make us discard it. Whatever we draw. Swing in with Shriekmaw. Interesting. Let's see. Less than its toughness. So they can get back the Shriekmaw if we block it. They can get back the Shriekmaw with the Awakener, but I think that we probably have to block anyways. We could just block the voice here. I suppose maybe we should have clued before blocked. Oh, it has fear. I can't block that guy anyways. So we're either blocking the voice or not. I guess we're not. That was another voice. Alright, there's the Summoner's Pact. Let's see. Elder Scale Worm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We could pack for and cast an Elder Scale Worm. But if they have a Flicker Wisp or something along those lines, then that's not gonna be very beneficial to us. I guess we just go for Titan here. Because this way we can get Field going. I think that's gonna be better. I don't think there's a reason to float the blue mana either, so we'll just play this guy. And then here we're definitely getting Feel the Dead because their tokens can block the Shriekmaw, and I guess maybe Talaria West. That makes sense to me. Yep, I think that's going to be the play. And we can still pay for our pack through a potential Damping Sphere, so that's looking pretty good. Do we swing in with a Baloth? I think no, because now I'm willing to block Voice of Resurgences, since I have kind of a stream of zombies potentially at my disposal, so. Elemental. Interesting. I was going to say, you want to attack with that one because you have to sacrifice it at the end step anyways. Although they could have just played it to get it out there so they could bring it back with Thunderkin on a next attack, perhaps. 2, 3, 4, 5. Or we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, activate, so that's 6, 7. I'll figure out the math in a second. So we want to block. I don't know if we want to block the Skelemental at all, actually. Because, well, we'll be going down to 1 if we don't absorb at least some of this damage is what I was meaning to say. So we can absorb 2 of it, take 4, 5, 6, 7 down to 2. I don't know if they have any elementals that do damage. I think that they do. Instead, I could block like this and take only the 3 from the Flicker Wisp, but then I also lose the Baloth. No, if we take the 7, we'll be down to 3. I don't think that they can do 3 damage to us. I could be wrong, though. I'm going to assume that I'm wrong, because they probably have a reason for making this attack. I'm just going to block like this. So we do not want to lose the game. We can definitely start there. Garrison is interesting. That means that we can get a engineered explosives and blow it up if they decide to block with their elementals. So I think that's going to be a good choice. They'd have to sacrifice pretty much their whole board in order to trade with this Titan. And if we can also make it a little more reasonable by going ahead and searching for another Talari West on this attack trigger, so I guess we want to explosives now, especially since it would otherwise kill our own zombie tokens that we're going to get off of this attack trigger, so. And I don't think that they have the ability to trade with this Titan, actually. They do have Flicker Wisp, so I need to be careful of not dying to lethal from the Flicker Wisp alone. I think it's going to be Talari West, because we could do Vesuva copying Field, but we also have to be aware of the fact that we can get Skelementaled here. In fact, we can Bajuka Bog away their graveyard, so that their Awakener is not doing much on its attack. Yeah, I think that's going to be a decent plan here. Because we're not quite looking at much of a clock from this Flicker Wisp just yet. I guess they can just block with the Shriek Maw in order to kill the Titan, but we're not. This guy can bring it back, right? Choose target elemental card in your graveyard with toughness less than his toughness. Oh, so this would have to be a 3-1 in order to get it back with the Awakener. So. Oh, I think we're just dead here. They did have a Skelemental to get us. So if we block both of these here, I guess it's more efficient to block here. Then we'd be taking 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so this is lethal. Alrighty, they got us. Alright, so yeah, I feel like most of the reason why we didn't do great in that match is my unfamiliarity with elementals in general. I have no clue if there are things I should have been playing around or things that I played around that I shouldn't have been playing around and that kind of thing. So I definitely feel like experience is a large factor in the outcome of that match and all matches in general. The best way to get better at playing Primeval Titan decks like this is to get experience in the matchup, so I guess that's just a stepping stone on the way to learning how to play the Elementals matchup. Speaking of, if any of you guys play against Elementals regularly or have a better idea than I do at least, what to do, what to play around, how would you sideboard differently perhaps? Is Dismember worth it? Seems like it might be, but it seems really bad against Voice Resurgence. I'm not sure. That kind of thing. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what I could have played differently. All that kind of things. And yeah, I'll see you in the next match. This is Red Face Menace, signing off.